Madam President,
The senator from Illinois.
ask consent the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection.
Madam President, our history books are filled with the names of great men and women who devoted their lives to others. One that may not be as recognizable as others is Norman Borlaug. He was an American biologist. He successfully developed a strain of wheat that grew more quickly and was disease resistant. His work to feed the hungry has been credited with saving 1 billion lives worldwide. Madame Marie Curie, a Polish chemist remembered for her discovery of radium and polonium and her huge contribution toward finding a treatment for cancer. And of course, all the scientists throughout history who developed life-saving vaccines. Edward Jenner, the smallpox vaccine. Louis Pasteur, rabies. Albert Calmet, TB. Leila Denmark, whooping cough. Jonas Salk, polio. I might add Albert Sabin in that too, because I was a kid and remember he came up with the oral version, which meant we didn't have to get a shot. Kids remember that. These men and women will be remembered for improving and saving lives with their breakthroughs in medicine, agriculture, and science. I want to nominate another person to be remembered in that same light. His name is Anthony Fauci. Born in 1940, Tony Fauci, the grandson of Italian immigrants, grew up a Yankees fan in Brooklyn. He was the captain of his high school basketball team. He worked construction jobs over breaks in the summer from school, and he ultimately decided he wanted to pursue a career in medicine. Thank goodness he did. In 1972, Anthony Fauci accepted a senior researcher position at the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at the National Institutes of Health. And for the past 38 years, Dr. Fauci has been the leader of that institute. He has advised 7 presidents of both political parties. He's guided our nation and the world through countless public health crises: SARS, avian influenza, swine flu, Zika, Ebola. Aside from his work against COVID-19, he's best known for his work on HIV/AIDS. Anthony Fauci's tireless efforts on HIV/AIDS, both domestically and worldwide, through the creation of PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, is the main reason why HIV/AIDS is no longer a death sentence. Some of us can remember when HIV/AIDS was first discovered. I can recall coming to vote in the House and somebody stopping me on the sidewalk and said, "Did you hear Magic Johnson has AIDS?" I can remember hearings in the House Budget Committee as a young congressman when we thought it was a death sentence that we were all going to face eventually. There was ultimate panic in the air, but thank goodness there were talented people like Tony Fauci with the nerves of steel needed to confront that. Harold Varmus, a former NIH director, once said, "PEPFAR has turned around declining life expectancies in many countries and likely saved some countries, even an entire continent, from economic ruin." Larry Kramer, a prominent, well-known AIDS activist who recently passed away, called Dr. Fauci, quote, "the only true and great hero among government officials of the AIDS crisis." For his work on HIV/AIDS, Dr. Fauci was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2008, our nation's highest civilian honor, from then President George W. Bush, who called Dr. Fauci my hero. Dr. Fauci has devoted his career, his life, to improving public health. He has saved countless lives here and around the world. These days, he's working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, shuttling from the NIH to the White House and back home. He is a classic example of American excellence, a brilliant scientific mind. And yet, despite all this, despite all that I've told you about this man, some members of today's Republican Party have chosen to make him a political target. They think attacking Dr. Fauci will cause us to forget the real history of COVID-19. You see, the Republican Party has consistently failed the American people when it came to COVID. From President Trump refusing to take it seriously to the discouragement of mask wearing and vaccines, to promoting horse tranquilizers and bleach and bizarre theories as a cure. They have too little courage to face their communities and do the hard work of governing during this public health crisis. So they've invented a political target, a convenient target, to focus their blame. Instead of addressing this public health crisis head on, they are trying to deflect and distract it and attack Dr. Tony Fauci. They are, without evidence, suggesting the false narrative that Dr. Fauci secretly and purposely funded illicit research that caused this virus. They are even criticizing his government's salary, for goodness sakes. He accrued that salary, I might remind them, over 4 decades of public service, as though he wouldn't make twice or 3 times that amount in the public sector today. They are questioning his financials and ties to the drug industry, even though he's made every requested document available, and no malfeasance or conflicts have been found. So why do they do this? Why are they determined to run this man down? Why would they attack this public servant who's worked around the clock to keep us safe? That's because it's much easier to malign a person than it is to do the hard work of enacting policies to tackle this virus and keep America healthy. Their distractions have sunk so low, they're using these attacks to raise money for their political campaigns. We have Republican candidates from Ohio to Florida who are running ads entitled Fire Fauci, who are promising to subpoena him and reduce his salary to 0 if it's within their power, who are selling freedom over Fauci flip-flops. That comes from none other than the governor of Florida. A few of my Senate Republican colleagues have loaded up their websites with anti-Fauci fervor, conveniently located next to a donate here option. We have Fox News anchors and podcast comedians like the infamous Joe Rogan giving airtime to anti-vaxxers who are hoping to get their 15 minutes of fame by leveling baseless claims against Dr. Fauci. Baseless claims that have resulted in death threats and harassment against Dr. Fauci, his wife, and his children. Let me ask you this. What have Dr. Fauci's most vocal critics done to advance the cause of public health? Nothing. They have done nothing. Worse than that, their lies about Dr. Fauci and about COVID are creating a toxic political environment that is literally killing people. 900,000 Americans have now died from COVID. So many of these deaths could have been prevented with vaccinations. Americans who are unvaccinated, listen to this, you know it, Madam President. Americans who are unvaccinated are 97 times more likely to die from COVID than their vaccinated and boosted counterparts. 97 times more likely to die. And yet, instead of spending their time encouraging vaccinations and promoting other proven, legitimate public health measures that would end this pandemic, many in the Republican Party want to get their 5 or 10 minutes of sun on Fox TV, and they spend their time attacking Dr. Fauci. These attacks are a shameful fraud. And for what? To fundraise, to win another guest appearance on Fox? Working in politics, you get used to a lot of things. Grandstanding, demagoguery, hypocrisy. But what some of my Republican colleagues are doing to Dr. Fauci is the lowest form of political life. They are lying about someone who has devoted his life to saving people, saving AIDS patients, containing and eradicating Ebola, preventing the spread of Zika and avian flu, someone who has worked harder than anyone to end this COVID pandemic. David Relman, a microbiologist who has advised the U.S. government for years on biological threats, said this of Dr. Fauci: "Nobody is a more tireless champion of the truth and the facts. I am not entirely sure what we would do without him." Dr. Fauci's name is and deserves to be listed alongside our world's greatest scientific minds. History will reserve another place for those who lie about him for their own gain, inciting hatred, prolonging this pandemic, and contributing to needless pain and suffering. America is blessed to have the talent, dedication, and compassion of Anthony Fauci in the midst of this deadly pandemic. And Madam President, I ask consent that an article from the Washington Post entitled "Anthony Fauci is up against more than a virus" be placed in the record after these remarks.
Without objection.
Madam President, I yield the floor and suggest the evidence for quorum.